Are you doing the
Tired
same
of doing
research
that.
that I'm doing? The research that
Yeah,
I
I'm
do
sure
is I follow the grandmas on Facebook is actually what I
the
do, and they
grandmas.
have the grandmas on Facebook. They have the best information, and it's in meme format typically, so it's quick. I get the information; it's to the point. So
Yeah.
we're doing the same research, right?
Well, I have a spouse that's and she's pretty fired up about this whole topic, and the whole school thing. That's an issue, and so she reads a lot, and I caution her. I say, okay, well, what's the source on this? Where did you get this? Um, how do you know that it's true? And so yeah, we're trying, but there's a lot of information out there, so. But I don't understand just trusting an authority. That makes no sense to me. It's like research it yourself. Where did the
Well,
authority get their information?
there's a kind of a narrative in the area right now that the vaccine is the only way to stop the pandemic,
Yeah,
and I don't think that that's true. I think that there are plenty of ways. I mean, how about hand washing? I mean, literally, let's wash our hands. How about if you get sick, stay home from work? And you know that is
yeah.
social distancing in a way.
Yeah.
Um, how about getting out in the sun? How about a little bit of vitamin D? How about
Vitamin D, I
getting
think, is
some
huge.
exercise?
Yeah.
It's one of the
Not
most
not
underrated.
eating not
Go
eating
ahead.
processed foods. Not eating processed foods. Let's throw that in there. And sugars.
Not being overweight, not having sugar issues. I mean, there are some home run issues. There are some home run things that could be done far before and long before a vaccine needs to come into play.
Yeah.
Um, so let's just put that out there. We're not doctors. So do your own. It's so stupid that we can't. I'm not a doctor, but exercise.
Uh,
I don't know.
Seems common sense. I mean, I
I
think a
don't
good
know.
doc any good I think any good doctor would suggest getting some sunlight, some exercise, and eating
If
right.
you ask them, they don't ever talk to you about health things. Oh, what
And
what
get
should
your
I do for good
vaccine
health?
shot.
What should I do for good health, doctor? Uh, I don't know
Take this drug.
what hurts on you. Let me get out my prescription pad. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
we're
I'm
generalizing.
stereotyping.
Not all doctors are like that,
Not
but
all doctors. Not all. Not all. Not all. Not all. Um, so predictions. Martial law. So I wanted
oh
to do some
man,
predictions. So
Did-
are we going to have to go to Australia with some troops to free them, or are they screwed? Or I mean, they have like a handful of
th-
cases, literally a handful, and they shut down the whole
yeah,
country under basically martial law.
yeah, yeah. It's sad. I mean, I don't know how they get themselves out of this. They are protesting, but they're getting pelted with plastic bullets and pepper spray and gassed, and I don't know. I mean, I would be in the streets at that point. I'd be with those protesters. I think this is beyond, there's it takes a lot to get me um to go to that length, but I would be, and that's all they're doing is protesting, right? But it's the police that are, you know, shutting them down. It's not like they're fighting back. They're fighting back for their lives. Did you know Andrew Bogut, the player for
Yeah,
Utah? Did you see his post?
I did see that.
He,
He did a video and he said he was asked or he was offered to be paid to promote the lockdowns, and
yeah,
he said no.
yeah, yeah. He's fighting for the little man. He made a very, very good argument for why he's speaking out. He's got nothing to lose, and well, he's got everything to lose, but nothing to gain. But
Yeah.
fortunately, he doesn't. He's got money, so he's
So
okay.
one of the photographs that came out of there were it was a line of police, and one of them had a medic sign on his back, and he had a big baton just ready to come down on somebody. So, I mean, it was pretty funny. Okay, so so we have Australia. You have the medic with his baton coming down. I'm here to save you from from
from
your health,
COVID.
but from COVID, and I'm going to bash your head in.
Give you a concussion. Let's concuss you.
And there was one person who was sentenced to 8 months in jail because he organized a protest. And of course, they gave up their guns, and so now they have martial law. Yeah, I don't know if it's by name martial law because I don't know where that term comes from. I don't know if it's a generalized term, but the idea of a police state coming in is generally what I'm talking about.
Pretty
So
heavy-handed.
Heavy-handed over, I mean, this is the if I can just save the one life type reasoning. We need to just, we can't let anyone die from this. And that's a very dangerous line of thinking because you can justify pretty much anything when you have that line of thinking. Predictions. Joe Biden takes a nap. When he wakes up, he accidentally resigns. So that's not far-fetched. I mean, I bet somebody already has the papers drawn up. I'm serious. I bet literally there are already papers drawn up for this.
I think he'd be glad to be out of there, but because he's going to get the protection from the Secret Service for the rest of his life. He's going to get he's got the pension. He's got the deals with the Chinese. Hunter's going to take care of him. So he's set, right? He doesn't need the headache of standing up there and pretending to be not an invalid for the rest of
Well,
his
and
term.
then if he turns it over to the vice president, then he'll be the super gentleman for all the liberals. Oh, look, he gave up his position of power to the woman. And that would that would go for decades. That kind of narrative would literally sell for decades.
Well, and I think a lot of Democrats they're looking at the performance of the VP over the last 8 months, and they're
like,
going,
whoa.
no, Joe's got to stay. He's got to stick this one out. We got this. This is not going to work. The alternative is not any better. So I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, interesting thought experiment. And then who would turn in Anne Frank nowadays? So Anne Frank, of course, the Diaries of Anne Frank. There are a lot of parallels between kind of the thought police and people turning on each other and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And whenever it's pointed out, you go, oh, that's absurd. You can't do any sort of comparisons to the Holocaust. Well, okay, I hope it doesn't come to that. I mean, but you have to at least make it's not that far-fetched.
Well, Andrew Bogut, the basketball player in Australia, he was pointing out that there was a guy that was caught on cameras on an elevator by himself. So he'd left his apartment, was on an elevator, and he sneezed. He was alone on the elevator, but sneezed, didn't cover up. That guy is now on the run. I laugh about this. It's not. It would be comical if it weren't just totally stupid and asinine. But the guy is on the run from the police now. I don't know how he figured out that he needed to be on the run, but
oh my gosh.
Are you kidding? We're tracking down people who are sneezing alone on elevators. This is just insane.
Well,
when does that come here? In some form. Oh, Adam's not vaccinated. Let's force him to get vaccinated. At gunpoint.
Well,
that'll never happen.
You look at things in history and you're like, oh, that can never happen again. You talk about the Salem witch trials. We would never. We're too enlightened for the Salem witch trials. No, we're not. People get caught up in things, and I've seen people screeching like witches over things. I know that's not the right analogy there because it was the people turning in the witches, but it was the idea that the things like that, the Salem witch trials or Anne Frank can't happen again. That's just total garbage. That totally can't happen again.
Oh, the schools and mask mandates, right? I mean, that whole thing that's going on. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, you get on Next Door Neighbor, which is this, you think about the title of that little messaging group, Next Door Neighbor, and they have these throughout the country, right? In your area, you can get on and you can communicate with your neighbors about issues that are concerning. You know, we got crime here, but whatever. Well, now it's just the shaming universe, right? And people are just violent on there. I mean, you just, if you have just a kind of a reasonable point of view, you just don't even want to post because these people are just so religiously just maniacal about how they go about just bludgeoning people for, you just want to kill people. You just don't care. You put a mask on your child. You know, it's just it's insane. I don't understand how we can be so emotional about these issues instead of just debating them, but it's the world we live
Well, I have a different next door neighbor group than you do. So we're talking about cats and
in.
dogs and things like normal stuff.
It's probably more reasonable. Yeah, here in Salt Lake, it's a little crazy.
I have to go on Facebook for the crazy stuff, and then I get outside of my normal little bubble. Anyway, a lot to talk about. It's we talk a lot about citizen representatives and the idea of citizen representatives and voting. But I think one of the biggest things we can do as people, because we only have the opportunity to vote every year or two, um, for local elections, for representatives, for presidents. There seem to be elections all the time, but it's not every day. So we don't have those types of opportunities to vote every day. But we do have the opportunity to vote with our dollars every day. And I think very quickly, these states that implement these vaccine mandates and the vaccine passports, they're going to chip away at it for a while, but at least hopefully at the beginning they'll find that it's not an optimal way to go,
Yeah.
because the businesses they'll lose so much money that they'll lobby the government to open it back up. I'm hoping it goes that way. I'm hoping that it doesn't turn to violence. I'm hoping that people aren't ostracized any more than they already are. I'm hoping that people can be nice to one another, that people can respect other people's choices, that if you are scared to go outside and be infected, then don't go outside. But people have a right to go and live and shop and do things. That's
Live
their right.
life.
You imposing your desires onto them is not correct. It's a false it's a false belief, it's a false premise, it's a false idol in a way. Any last thoughts from you, Adam?
I had this thought the other day as I was lying on the beach. So, how can you have true health? How can you have real health without freedom?
Are you asking me, or is this a rhetorical question, or are you just kind of
A little bit of both, if you have any comment. But I thought about that. It really resonates with me personally that it seems to me that a truly healthy society, from the collective group to the individual, cannot be enjoy true health, mental, physical, emotional, psychological, without an atmosphere of freedom. And the more we try and lock down those freedoms, the more unhealthy we become as a society. And that manifests physically. And I think that's what's happened with COVID to a large degree.
well, that's a fantastic point, because once you start studying kind of health and things like that, so much of what presents itself physically is an emotional blockage or an emotional problem. And once you have that freedom, because if you have no freedom, you are stifled emotionally. At least most people are. Some people really really like some people really like it that way.
I guess.
I don't. I mean, some people just are loath to. They do not like to make decisions. Some people do anything so that they don't have to be the one to take responsibility. But to your point, without freedom, how do you have true health? starts with emotional health, it presents itself physically. It's a good thing to ponder on. So let's leave it at that.